welcome back to Studio 5. Have you ever felt like someone doesn't respect what you say? They push over any requests or suggestions to the point that you feel ignored and unappreciated. Well, that person could be defined as difficult, but the way you're handling it might not be helping either. Today, how to set boundaries with difficult people. Studio 5 contributor and owner of Wasatch Family Therapy, Julie Hanks, says you need to take a closer look at your relationship rules, which is really how you define boundaries as a relationship rule.
Right. So we're separate people, but we're all connected. And so boundaries are kind of like the space between. So how much space, emotionally and physically. And boundaries are, I think of them like a fence. So sometimes our boundaries are too weak, like a fence without kind of the end posts, and people can just knock it over and walk into your yard.
Plow right into your space.
Right. But then you don't want them to be too rigid, because so too rigid would be like a fence without a gate, and there's no place to get in, so you can't really be close to people. So the goal is to be somewhere in between. So you have a nice fence with a gate where people can, you let people in or out, and you decide how you'll be treated in relationships.
Do a lot of issues in your private practice really boil down to this idea of broken boundaries?
Yeah. I think that's a good summary of it. And in my practice, kind of the difficulty is that a lot of women in particular face is they don't value themselves. And so that's kind of the first tip, is to really value yourself, because when we value something, we protect it. And so if you don't value yourself, it's easy to kind of go to acquiesce to other people and to please them, instead of go, what do I want? How do I want to be treated? So that's really important to go, I matter, what I want, how I feel, what I think matters.
I can't remember the specific scenario, but I remember one time, maybe it was you, I don't know, someone saying, frame it as you would if you were making a decision for someone else, right? For your husband or for your children.
Yeah.
And that kind of puts the value on things and causes you to look at it a little bit differently, because we're often more protective of those we love, and we don't protect ourselves with the same fierce level.
I didn't say that, but I wish I had.
Well, it could have been you. I can't be sure. So valuing ourselves is the first one. The next thing has to do with how we handle and manage our emotions and our thoughts.
Right. So often we kind of tune out our emotions. It's like, oh, I don't want to feel uncomfortable, or I don't want to think mean things about someone else. But it's really important. Our emotions and our thoughts are like a compass to guide us, who we want to spend more time with, who we want to stay away from. And so we need to really tune into that to guide us in our relationships. And it's hard to do, because we don't like to feel uncomfortable, or we don't like to have mean thoughts about someone. But it's important to tune into that and use that as clues, like, oh, if I'm really uncomfortable, I might need to set a stronger boundary here.
Interesting.
Yeah, and an example of that is maybe a sister-in-law giving unsolicited parenting advice. Right?
Yeah.
Never happens.
Never.
But, if you notice, and she might even do it in a really nice way, and so you kind of feel like less than, or, kind of hurt, but you don't want to say anything.
Kind of judged, maybe put down a little bit.
Yeah, and so just noticing those thoughts and feelings is really important. Instead of going, well, I know she doesn't mean it. It's like, oh, you could say, I know you care about me, but I'd love your advice when I ask for it. That would be really appreciated.
Oh, wow. That makes me nervous just hearing you say that. That takes courage.
It does, but why is that so hard to just say what we'd like? And no, I know you care about me, but this is my boundary. I know, but you squirt. I love that. You're showing how hard it is.
It can be hard.
And sometimes people aren't, it's not difficult people, it's that we're just wimpy.
And when I think, well, there you go. And when I think of the alternative, which would be pulling away from her and totally severing the relationship and not even letting myself be close to someone that I care about, I guess the alternative is,
or talking bad about her to all the other family members,
right?
Which is easier to do than to have this straightforward boundary setting conversation.
Does this straightforward boundary setting get easier the more you do it?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes. It was really, like, my personality, it's really hard for me, and I've practiced for 30 years now. Kind of, okay, like this matters. It's okay to stand up for yourself. So yeah, it does get easier.
Just when I got used to saying your phrase, that just won't work for me, now I've got to get even more bold, and I've got to start setting boundaries with people I love. No, I like it. Specificity is really important too, you say, when making these requests.
So whenever we give feedback, well, not whenever, but we tend to do it generally. Like, say at work, someone cuts you off in a meeting. And I'm sure that's never happened here. And so you could say, stop being so controlling. Or you could say, you know, when you cut me off today in that meeting, that kind of hurt. And I felt like my voice wasn't really heard. Just wanted to let you know.
So the blanket stop being too controlling is too general. It's too
right.
vague.
It's not helpful.
Right.
It's not a boundary. It's like information that's not really helpful. It's blaming, it's labeling, but being specific about what behavior you want more of or less of, that's actually helpful.
Well, then people can really course correct, right? They can really look at isolated situations and change how they're handling it or what they aren't doing right.
Right, right. And that it gives, I mean, I'd rather have specific feedback. If I hurt someone or if I overstepped a boundary, I want to know.
Here's maybe why I get so nervous with the idea of being firm and direct and straightforward. It's because don't we all, at the end of the day, want to be considered kind and nice and a little bit pleasing, which I know isn't always a great thing, but what's that balance between being firm but also being kind?
Well, I think it's hard. We tend to think of those in opposition instead of as complementary. We can be firm and kind at the same time. So we tend to kind of go, I need to be, you know, firm and mean.
Tough.
But yeah, no, you can be direct and specific and also be kind. Hey, I just want to let you know that really hurt what you said yesterday, you know, to so-and-so. And I want to talk to you about that because I care about you. That hurt my feelings.
Part of that, probably the ability to be kind but be firm, is probably waiting until you're in the right place to say it, right? Because if you're still worked up and hot and bothered, going back to the sister-in-law's, you know, unsolicited advice or whatever, that's not going to come out kind at all. So you've probably got to be in a certain place yourself in order to pull that off.
Right. And we're not always going to be kind about it. I mean, but you can be firm without attacking them. So you might even be upset. You might be like, you know, that's not okay that you do that. But you can still do it in a way that preserves the relationship. You know, it's okay to be intense. I'm not saying you have to be syrupy when you talk about it.
And is just saying it, just making that verbal request, is that enough?
For some people it is. They can get the message. For others, you need to really back it up consistently with behavior. And that's the hard part. You know, when I have clients who say, oh, my husband doesn't respect my boundaries regarding, you know, parenting, or he kind of oversteps undermines my parenting or something like that. But it's because we're not taking a stand, like saying, stop. And let's go into the other room or walk away from a situation. Sometimes silence actually is the best. If someone says something and you just look at them, it's like that sends a strong, we don't always have to have the words. But you know, an example that I hear a lot in my practice is people have other people in their life who talk about the same topic in a negative way for years. And it's hard to say, you know, I'm kind of don't want to talk about that. But it's okay to hang up the phone, change the subject, walk away.
So be a little abrupt in how you transition, maybe.
Yeah, or just say, oh, well, you know what, I'm not up for talking about that. Hey, can I tell you about my vacation? Or you can change the subject. That's behavior that backs it up. Or just say, you know, I've got to go.
And cut them off at that. Julie, I like this. If you like this conversation as much as I do, you have to read Julie's book, which is still out there and women are still responding to in a really positive way.
Thank you. Thanks.
Where do we get the burnout cure?
We'll go to juliehanks.com and I have links to where to buy it.
Okay, we will be right back. More with Julie in just a few minutes.